I am William Smith. I am also accompanied by two gentlemen by the names of John Avery and Robert Pine. I'm writing this letter by lantern light at approximately 3:28 a.m. The year is 1912, and it is April 15th today, to whomever the lucky recipient of this letter will turn out to be. Surely someone will find this if by chance we are not found in time, and frankly, I'll not only suggest but I will take the latter on option 1. Before the ship started to miraculously sink, everything seemed to be going swell. In fact, I had just ate a late dinner about 5 hours ago. I enjoyed tonight's entertainment, had a very amusing chat with a family of 4 over a nightcap of brandy, and now am really wishing I'd have just asked their names, for I can only hope that they, along with everyone else, made it to safety. Sure, there were a few iceberg warnings in the early night, but from what the eye could see, for what felt like miles inside of centuries, the waters were calm, eerily calm at that, and certainly there were no giant icebergs that we were approaching, or that were in visible sight. Even when stepping outside on the deck for a late night smoke with some other passengers, I studied the calm yet frigid waters. Though I could not peer through the darkness very far, it genuinely looked like not one iceberg was near, so I figured we had all but forgotten about the warnings, or they just didn't feel as prominent. Tearing metal along with explosions, thuds, and groaning metal as the water started to fill the ship, slowly pulling us closer to pure terror. Then we hit it at 11:40 p.m. last night, echoing a harsh scraping noise, followed by what I can only describe as throwing a million marbles across a sheet of ice. The last thing I recall seeing were women and children jumping into lifeboats, while some folks were just standing around in shock and others ran around screaming. The water was too cold to survive a swim, and you'd be mistaken if I was going to be the man holding onto a piece of wood or some other debris with half of my body in the water, dying from hypothermia, begging and pleading to let just one more person onto a boat. I stood there for a couple minutes, taking this all in. The strength, resilience, and reassurance of men at a death alliance is so powerfully freeing. Sides and tops of my door flipped the bed up against it, and we prayed because soon enough we would feel the ship break in half, as at that point it was up to God. Disgusted at people's selfish actions, taken back by so much emotion whirling around the ship, I could only let out a few tears before I ran back to my room to try and get my belongings, if any. John and Robert must have seen me at the right time and were concerned, because when I had made it to my room, not long after, these men were stepping through my door urging me to leave with them. Little to no water got into the room, and this far into my letter we ray still ironically high and dry, so that's a good sign. All I could do was sit and weep, because part of me knew we weren't making it out of this one. The boats were limited. I have a deck of cards in my luggage. We could play a quick game of cards if we are granted the time. A little bit of brandy I snuck back to the room earlier in the night, and I have about 10 Chesterfields left in my pack. There was just no way out. To John and Robert, the first says, "You guys best go on without me," while trying to point them back through my door, and as scared as I knew we all were, they both looked at me and shook their heads with tears in their eyes. We hugged. They helped batten down the hatches of my room. We pushed as many towels as we could up against the bottom, us men, and every belonging in my room slid to the wall. We had just fortified the door on, and I can believe it worked. But as the ocean began to take us, we heard the water deeply glugging up through the hallway. I can tell you this though, now, we ray fully submerged and still sinking as I write, because my ears keep popping every 4 to 5 minutes or so. Hopefully we hit the ocean floor soon, so we can rest a while and fully come to terms before we run out of clean air, or I know hopefully one of these men have a lighter and don't mind a few smokes over games, conversation, and a few shots. Goodbye and good night. Sincerely with love, William A. Smith. Thank you for reading. Written by Amazing Reindeer.